YouTube, what's happening? It is Monday, Memorial Day, and there are 11 baseball games to go over today. But first, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. We have been absolutely on fire. Now, yesterday, we did cool off a little bit. I call it paying taxes, joke around, we lost. We're not going to win every single day. It happens, especially when you have a day where the Phillies sold, the Yankees sold, the Giants sold, and we all watched what happened in that Toronto-Detroit game. Wow, what happened in that one? Either way, the only things that did well, the Nerfies. I'm telling you, Baltimore road Nerfies are just beautiful. Love those. 96% hit rate now. Just love those. Either way, we have 11 games. Let's jump into it. First game. All right, first game, we got the Red Sox and we got Baltimore. Sadly, Baltimore's back at home. Can't really hit on those road Nerfies anymore, but it's okay. We have Criswell with his 286 going up against Irvin with his 315. Betting markets currently have the Orioles as a minus 165, over under 9.5 with some juice on the under. Looking at the numbers, Boston's on a 1-game win streak, Baltimore's on a 4-game win streak. Happens when you play the White Sox, right? Looking at the Nerfy percent, Boston 74% on the road. They hit the Nerfy. Baltimore 63% of the time they hit the Nerfy at home. That's a 46.6. We don't like that. We pass. Runs a game. Boston is getting 4.1 runs a game, which is 18th best. Baltimore 4.4, which is 14th best. Batting average. Boston is batting 226, which is 20th. Baltimore 209, which is 24th. Both of them right next to each other. Same with the runs. They're right next to each other. Boston has 9 strikeouts a game for 21st. Baltimore 8.4, which is 18th. And 2.3 walks for Boston. 3.4 walks for Baltimore. That's 9th. Advantage Baltimore in the walks. Only thing I'm seeing here is Baltimore's a little bit better scoring runs. Boston's a little bit better batting average. We have a pitching matchup where they're pretty equal. Neither team stands out here saying that they are going to have a clear statistical advantage, because here we look for statistics. We look for trends, any advantages here. The pitching matchup is pretty close. The stats are pretty close. I don't like the over/under. I don't like the money line, and I don't like the Nerfy. This whole game is going to be a pass. Next game. All right, next up, we got Kansas City and Minnesota. We got Martian a 272 going up against Ryan with a 315. On the betting markets, Minnesota is a minus 170 money line at home currently at my book. Over under 7.5, a little bit of juice on the over. They're both on a 1-game losing streak. Kansas City hits the Nerfy 76% of the time when they're on the road. Minnesota hits it 60% of the time when they're at home. That's a 45, 46% chance. Pass on a Nerfy. Runs a game. Minnesota is 4.3 runs a game, which is 15th, middle of the road. Kansas City, number 1, 7 runs a game. So massive advantage in scoring for Kansas City. Batting average. Kansas City is 308, which is number 1. Minnesota is 233, which is 18th. So again, massive advantage Kansas City. Strikeouts and walks. Walks are tied. They're both getting 3.8. Both tied for 4th best. They're both right around the 10 spot, and strikeouts at 7.5 and 7 respectively. This game is perplexing, to say the least, because some people look at the number from the book and say, "Ooh, they know something." What do they know? Is Kansas City just not playing anybody? Did they give everyone the holiday off today so they could watch the game and not play? Because none of this makes sense. I don't get it. So, based on statistics, based on the numbers I have before me, based on how they've been playing and everything lines up, even Kansas City, the pitcher has a little bit lower ERA, but he has a little bit higher whip. To me, these two pitchers are pretty much equal. I don't see much of a difference. Ryan does have a nice K to walk ratio, but that doesn't really, they're both almost top 10 in walks and strikeouts. That doesn't bother me at all. This one, I'm going to go with the numbers. We're taking Kansas City on the money line, especially at plus 140. I will roll the dice on that every day. Run line? No, we're not doing the run line. We're going to do the money line. Over under 7.5. Both teams, they're getting almost 11 runs a game. We have 2 decent pitchers. We'll probably, let's do that. Since they're both scoring well, Kansas City's on fire. We're going to take the over 7.5 as well. Pass on Murphy and Kansas City money line. Next game. All right, third game. We got Toronto and the Chicago White Sox. We got Bassett with a 4.39 going up against Nastrini with 11.91 on 11 innings. Not often do you see the ERA higher than the innings already. Betting markets currently have the Blue Jays minus 200, over under 8.5 with some juice on the over. Toronto's on a 3-game losing streak. Chicago's on a 5-game losing streak themselves. Toronto hits the NRFI 85.7% of the time when they're on the road. White Sox were part of the Baltimore NRFIs this weekend. Hit the NRFI 82.1% of the time when they're at home. That gives you a 70.4% chance at a NRFI. Looking at these numbers, I would normally take the NRFI, but Toronto can score. We saw it yesterday. Nostrini is not good. You can see the numbers. I would not be surprised if Toronto hit a home run in the first inning. So we're not going to play the NRFI here. Bassett, 4.39. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago hit a home run in the first inning here based on these pitchers here. Over under 8.5, we're taking that all day. Toronto is number 6 in runs at 5.3. Chicago is 21 at 3.5. Toronto's number 3 in batting average at 264. Chicago is 30th. They're dead last. They're batting 188 over the last week. Toronto is 6.6 strikeouts, which is 4th. White Sox are 10 strikeouts a game. You see there's clear disadvantages here. So Blue Jays are going to be a run line pick. They're going to be -1.5. They're going to go in the money line parlay. Any favorite money line, they don't get bet themselves. They get put into a nice little parlay altogether. Now, if they hit, they hit. They don't, they don't. They get 1 unit altogether as a team. They're a team. They work together. So we're going to take them in a parlay. We're going to take a run line Toronto, and we'll take that over 8.5, and we will move on to the next game. All right, game 4, we got Chicago and Milwaukee. We got Steele with a 5.68 going up against Gasser with a 2.65. Betting markets have the Brewers as a slight money line favorite at -120. Over under 8.5. Juice on the under. Cubs are on a 4-game losing streak. Milwaukee's on a 1-game losing streak. Cubs, when it comes to NRFI land, are hitting NRFIs at 81.4% of the time when they're on the road. Milwaukee, 66.7. That gives you like a 54-ish percent. We're going to pass on a NRFI. Cubs are 28th in runs in the past week at 3 runs a game. Milwaukee, 16th at 4.2 runs a game. They're both bottom half. Cubs, really bottom half. They are struggling. Batting average. Cubs are over 200. They moved up a little bit. They're 25th in batting average now at 202. Remember when they were sitting there at 140 a few days ago? It was miserable. Milwaukee, though, is 6th. They're getting 257 batting average. Only thing with Milwaukee that stands out here is they're batting nicely, but they're struggling to get the runs across the plate, which that can change any time. Strikeouts-wise, Cubs 9.2, Milwaukee 8. That's 22 and 13. 2.8 walks for the Cubs, 3.2 walks for Milwaukee. That's 19th to 10th. So we have advantages for Milwaukee on the batting average. We have massive advantage there. Decent advantage on the runs, advantage on the strikeouts, and advantage on the walks. So Milwaukee all across has all 4 categories I like. They pitching matchup here, Steele with a 5.68 is not good. Gasser 2.65. It's only 17 innings, but I like that. Even though he only has 6 and 1, I mean, he's getting it done. But I don't like that Steele 5.68, so I'm definitely going to be taking Milwaukee on the money line at -120 because they have all the advantages and the pitching matchup advantage. Over under 8.5. They're both getting right around 9 runs combined. They're struggling. We're going to pass on the over under. We're just going to rock with Milwaukee on the money line at 120, and that's it on that one. Next game. Our next game, we got the Guardians and the Rockies. We got Curry with a 1.93 against Gomber with a 2.76. Currently, betting markets are showing the Guardians at a 135 favor in the money line. Over under 10.5 with some juice on the over. They are expecting some runs in this game. Looking at the matchup, Cleveland has won 9 in a row. Colorado's won 1 in a row. Given they played great against the Phillies, did they not? And Cleveland's just been stomping everybody. NRFI percent. Cleveland hits the NRFI 86% of the time when they're on the road. Colorado hits the NRFI 59% of the time at home. It gives you a 50.9. That's a pass all day. Cleveland is 3rd in runs at 6.4. Colorado is 7th in runs at 4.8. Cleveland's batting 230 for 19th best. Colorado's batting 248 for 12th best. Cleveland is 9.2 strikeouts. Colorado's 9.3 strikeouts. That's 22 and 24th. Cleveland is number 1 in walks. 4.2, while Colorado is only 3.1. So we have a minor, there's not really an advantage on the runs. Colorado's 7 spots better on batting average. They're both the same as strikeouts, and Cleveland has an advantage on walks. Pitching matchup is pretty nice. Both pitchers are good. When's the last time you've seen a Colorado pitcher a sub-3 ERA a month into the season? You just don't see that anymore. But look at Gomber. He's doing great. Either way, This one over under 10.5. Both teams get runs, but both pitchers are good. Last time I bet like 10.5 for Colorado, it didn't hit. It was Philly. It was the first game. It was like 3-2 final. I think I'm a little scared of that one. So with the fact that they're getting runs, but yet they're both 19th and 12th in batting average, that concerns me. They're running, they're getting it done, but I don't like that. I don't like the fact that none of the stats point to say Cleveland should win this game easily, because Colorado has held their own against Philly, who I believe is one of, if not the top team in the majors right now. I think I'm going to, with nothing sticking out, I'm going to pass on this game all around. Total, money line, everything pass, move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got the Dodgers and the Mets. We got Stone at 3-6 going up against McGill to 3-0. Betting market is currently the Dodgers at 155, over under 8.5 with some juice on the over. Stats-wise, the Dodgers are on a 5-game losing streak. I know it's breaking news. ESPN lost their mind. First time they lost 5 games since 2020. What, 2021, 2020? Something like that. Either way, the Mets are on a 1-game winning streak. They got the win yesterday over San Francisco, finally. So after blowing the other two, we have the Dodgers getting the Nerfy 65.3% of the time when they're on the road. The Mets 85% of the time when they're at home. Combine them, 55.7. That's a pass. Dodgers are dead last in the majors. 2.2 runs a game in the past week. They are struggling to get runs. Mets are 4.4, which is 14th, so middle of the road. Dodgers are batting 200 at 26th best. Mets are batting 231, which is 18th best, so not good either way, but definitely not good for LA. Dodgers are 8 Ks a game, which is 13th. Mets are swinging everything, 10.6, which is the most in the majors in the past week. 1.8 walks for the Dodgers, 27th. Mets 3 for 15th best. Looking here, the matchups are equal. They're pretty the same. McGill's a little, we don't really know. He's only got 9 innings, so that's a little something to look at, but he has a 3 with a 1.33 whip, which is pretty much the same as Stone. The stats are leaning New York. We have the Dodgers as a favorite, but I mean, they're so ice cold right now. You go against the teams that are cold, and they're still on the road. They just got swept by Cincinnati, and they lost 2 games to Arizona. Now that the Mets are better than both those teams, in my opinion. So even at 22-30, I think the Mets are better. So I would lean, you know what? I'm going to take New York just because of the stats. We're going to take New York on the money line today. And we're going to pass on that over-under because I just don't trust the runs here. I don't think anything is going to really change on the over-under part. So yeah, we'll take New York on the money line and move on to the next game. Next up, we got the Cardinals and the Reds. We got Lance Lynn and 368 going up against the Lodolo with a 334. Betting markets have the Reds as a 135 favorite, over under 9.5 with some juice on the under. The Cardinals have won 5 in a row. They're starting to build a streak. Cincinnati's won 3 in a row, sweep over the Dodgers. And we have St. Louis at 84.6 on the Nerfy. Cincinnati 75% Nerfy at home. That gives you a 63-ish percent. That's not good enough. We're going to pass on that one as well. Looking at the stats, St. Louis 4.7 runs a game, which is 11th. Cincinnati 4.1, which is 17th. St. Louis is 4th in batting average, batting 260. Cincinnati 22nd at 222. That's a whole lot of twos. Strikeout wise, St. Louis 7.2 to Cincy's 9.5, which is 7th to 25th. And walks, St. Louis 2.2 to Cincy's 4.1. Advantage Cincy for 3rd best in the majors. That pitching matchup, it looks close to the same in numbers, but we can't trust Lance Lynn. We never. That's like trusting Manoah. That's like trusting Patrick Corbin. We don't trust pitchers like this. Pitchers that have been known to just give up like that, we just don't do that. So, but Lodolo, I trust Lodolo. He's 3-2, 3-4. That .94 whip is like to see that. Looking at stats though, I can see why the Reds are slightly favored. Outside of that, the numbers. They're favored because of the pitching matchup. But St. Louis has the better numbers. They're batting 4th in the majors and batting at 260 compared to Cincy's 222. But I can't back Lance Lynn. I can't do it. So this game is going to be a complete pass on everything. Next game. All right, next up, we got the Nationals and the Braves. We got Parker with a 3.32 going up against Morton at 3.35. Betting markets have the Braves as a -210, over under 8.5 with some juice on the over. The Nationals lost their last game. Atlanta won their last game, but they lost probably for the season because they lost Acuna. Terrible injury. I hate when you see stars get hurt like that when it's non-contact running baselines. Terrible. Anyway, we move on. Washington is hitting the NRFI 85% of the time on the road. Atlanta is hitting the NRFI 58% of the time at home. That gives you right at 50%. That's a pass. Washington is getting 3.2 runs, which is 24th best, while batting 209, which is also 24th best. Bottom 6 in the majors for them. Atlanta 4.3 runs for 7th. They're batting 238, which is 15. So Atlanta's warming up. They were bottom of the barrel. Now they're in the middle of the road. Even the runs have hit the top 7 now, so they're getting back up to it. Washington 6.6 strikeouts to Atlanta's 8.1. Advantage Washington. Washington's getting 1 walk a game for 29th. Atlanta 2.6 for 21st. So we have advantages for Atlanta on offense here for sure. We have a pitching matchup of pretty equal. They both pitch good innings, both 1.6, 1.2 whips, ERAs right equal to each other. Atlanta has the stats on as a better overall team. 210 is enough. I'll put that Atlanta in a moneyline parlay for sure. We'll definitely go in there. Over under 8.5. Looking at this matchup, I don't trust Washington to help with that on an over, and I don't trust Atlanta to keep it under, because when you have a high and a low, it's hard to predict where the over-under is going to go. So we'll take Atlanta money line and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we have the Phillies and Giants. We have Walker with a 506 against Snell with 11.4. This is my favorite series for the next group of games we have going on. I think both teams are on fire right now. We have the betting market showing that it's a pick 'em both ways. I don't know how you have a pick 'em with Blake Snell pitching. That's I'm shocked by that one. Over under 7.5 was some juice on the over. The Phillies have lost 1. The Giants have lost 1. Philly hits the NRFI 66% of the time on the road. Giants 72% of the time at home. Philly is 5.5 runs a game, which is 5th best. Giants 6.67, which is 2nd best. Philly's batting 256, which is 7th best. Giants 260, which is 4th best. They're both in the top 5 and 7 runs in batting average. Dominant performances by both teams offensively. Philly is 6.6 strikeouts, which is 4th best. Giants 8, which is 13th best. They're 3.1 and 3.8 walks, which is 12 and 5 for both Philly and San Francisco. I don't care what the numbers say. Blake Snell is not the Blake Snell of 2023. I took him a few days ago on his K prop to get over 5.5. He got to 5 and then fell apart, and they yanked him before any real damage could be done. So until Blake Snell shows us he can do what he's got to do, now he's got to face Philly. I can't see it. And I'm taking Philly. It might be a crazy sucker play. It might be, but I'm taking Philly on the money line against Blake Snell. And I'm going to take Philly run line too, because Blake Snell is just tossing taters out there. And I can see lots of taters going over the fence today for Philly. So we're going to take that. And we're also, since Walker has a 5.6, the over under 7.5, I don't get this one at all. So I'm going to take the over too. So over 7.5, Philly money line and the parlay, Philly run line. Next game. All right, next up we got Miami and San Diego. The trade teams have met up again. So we have Rogers at 6'11 matching up against King with a 4.28. Betting markets currently have the Padres as a 180 favor, over under 7.5 with a little bit of juice on the over. Miami has won 1 game. San Diego's also won a game in a row. Miami is getting the NRFI 76% of the time on the road. San Diego 82% of the time at home. That gives you a 62.4-ish percent. That's a pass on NRFI for me. 2.8 runs a game for Miami, 3.1 runs a game for San Diego. That's 29th and 26th. These teams are struggling to score, both in the bottom 4. 2.69 batting average for Miami puts them at 2nd somehow. That's crazy. You're 2nd in batting average, but you can't score runs. That's a wild one. San Diego is currently at 14th on batting average at 239. So again, decent batting average, can't score runs. Wild. 7.4 strikeouts a game for Miami, 6 strikeouts for San Diego, puts them at 8-2, so they're not striking out really. Miami's getting 1 walk a game for 29th, and San Diego's 2.6 for 21st. Pitching matchup, you can see that San Diego has a slight advantage, 4.28, 1.3 whip versus 6.11, a 180 whip. That's not good. With the over-under being 7.5, I would initially lean the over, but both these teams, they can't score runs, but they can get on base, which is what matters most. This one's going to be a gamble. This one, I'm going strictly on stats. The fact that Miami is second in batting, San Diego's 14 means they can get on base. They're not scoring runs, but if you're on base, you're going to score more runs than not. I'm going to take the over 7.5 in this one. Just because we have two high ERA pitchers, we have the batting averages, they're not striking out. It's adding up. The runs there just aren't, that doesn't make sense. So I think they can get some runs. Moneyline wise, I can't really pick a side. The numbers are about equal for both teams here. Outside of Miami, just having better batting, but I don't trust that 611.18 whip. So we're going to take the over 7.5, move on to the last game. Our last game, we got Houston and Seattle. We got Valdez with a 4.32 against Miller with a 3.53. Betting markets have it currently as the Astros with a 135 favorite. Over under 7.5, a little bit of juice on the under. Houston and Seattle both won one game in a row. Houston is hitting the Nerfy on the road 66% of the time. Seattle at home 80% of the time. That gives you 53-ish%. That's a pass. Houston 3.8 runs a game for 19th best. Seattle 3.3 runs a game for 23rd best. So both teams struggling to get runs. Houston 2.51 average, which is 9th. Seattle 197, which is 28th. Houston striking out the least in the majors, though, at 5.4. Seattle's 10.3. They're striking out a lot. And 3 and 2.5 for walks for 15 to 24. So we have advantages here for Houston in every category. Some of them pretty decent, like batting average advantages here. Pitching matchup, I would lean Seattle in the pitching matchup. ERA's better, whip's better, way more innings pitched. With it being a 135 favorite for the Astros, over under 7.5. I don't trust the over under in this one. I don't like the under because the pitching matchup is a little too iffy there. Don't like the over because they struggle to score runs. Obvious enough. Money line, I lean Seattle pitching. I lean Houston batting stats. That's a wash. So that this whole game is going to be a pass. All right, that's it. 11 games broken down. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. I put these videos out every single day where I break down games like this, give records, transparency. We do it all here. I'm trying to grow this channel here. So the best I can do is have you help me out some. If I can help you out by winning some money. You like what you saw, let me know below, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.